92.3 uncensored, everything Southwest Florida and beyond. And we have Mayor Bill Barnett. And it's always mayor to you. You are always mayor to me.
I know, but you can't.
I love it.
I got to be former mayor, retired mayor, old mayor.
Yeah.
I don't know whatever works. But somebody's going to, get on our case. Say, he's not the mayor anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I am to a lot of people. Though.
Well, to me, you are. And,
yeah.
and I know what that feels like because I worked at the sheriff's office for 31 years. So people
still
call me, deputy, chief, sergeant, whatever. And I'll take it. I'll take it.
Well, because you don't lose your title. I mean, it's like people calling me mayor. It's because I get to keep my title.
Yeah. And guess what? You earned it. And I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. Have you been the mayor the most times of anybody that's ever been the mayor?
Yeah, I'm the longest standing mayor in the history of Naples.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what that paid me? Nothing. Big zero.
Yeah. But you know what though? It's kind of cool to know that you have been involved in, and we talked about it last time we had the podcast. You've been involved in pretty much everything Naples, and it's not just a normal city. Naples is unbelievable. No matter where you go, somebody's like, "Oh, Naples."
Well, it's true. I mean, but I don't know. I'm feeling. Man, I want to come on the show today. Shoot the breeze with you about what's going on down there. You got an election coming up. And I mean, I'm feeling uncomfortable. Okay, about the city in general, about the city council, about the fact that my buddy Gary Price is not going to run again. And you got 5 candidates.
Yeah, and that's why
for 3 seats.
That's why I called you. I said, hey, Bill, let's give us a little rundown of the climate and the politics and things that are going on in general in the city. Right. Just give us, myself and the listener a little bit of a rundown of what is happening. And we've been friends for a long time. So, just let it go. Let it rip.
Yeah. I mean, you want to start somewhere. We'll start with city managers. Okay. I mean, I worked with some of the greatest city managers, and you knew a couple of them.
I have, yes.
And they lasted, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. All right. Now we've had 4 city managers in 8 months. Okay. Well, we have our fire chief as our interim city manager right now.
Why is that, Bill? I know you're going to get to it, but why is it?
It's because of the city council and because of their disruptiveness and because the mayor wants to control every damn thing there is to control. And the charter says you can't do that. That's not your job. Your job is to set policy. She got her nose into everything. And she's got council members that follow her, like sheep. And so fired the greatest attorney firm, one of the best in Naples, Collier County in the state of Florida. They got rid of them. Okay. They hire this new firm that doesn't like to litigate. They settle. They're settlers,
So that costs people money.
It costs you money. It costs me money.
Yeah.
But I don't think the citizens of Naples know that. It'll come back to bite them. Okay. Instead of litigating a case, all right, they just as soon settle it and walk from it or whatever. And then they say, oh yeah, everything is resolved, it's settled. It's like, man, that case should have been litigated, but they didn't have anybody to litigate. We're probably the biggest city they've ever represented. And of course, the mayor had to do with that also because she kind of handpicked and they sold her a bill of goods and she bought it. And I'd never even met them, but I see what they do. And then, what else is going on? So they had a good city manager. His name was Charles Chapman.
Right.
I hired him. Okay. I say we, the council that I was on then before she got in office, I hired him. Bright young guy, 39 years old, smart, came out of Henry County, was a Henry County manager. She couldn't get along with him. And then started being disruptive, with council and everything else. And so they figured out, well, maybe we ought to give him his walking papers. But he was smart. He wrote himself a beautiful contract. All right. So that he allowed for the fact that this is just, if it's not working and everything, and they want to get rid of me or whatever, I'm going to walk out of here with a nice package, which he did. Then they get an interim manager. And they're Dana. You know Dana, Susan?
Yeah, I do.
Dana is a terrific guy. You couldn't ask for a better guy. He'd been working for the city for quite a few years. Bill Moss hired him when he was manager.
Right.
So Dana one day says to me, we were talking on the phone, and he says, I don't know how much longer I can take this, because Heitman was in and out of his office every day. They were having screaming matches in there. Finally, he says, this is it. I can't.
Very unprofessional setting all the way around.
Oh,
all the way around.
But the people can see that, and they're saying, what's going on down there? So you got an election coming up. They got Pete DiMaria, who is one of the best.
Yeah.
He is the interim manager now. He's a fire chief, but of course he switched over. And I believe that he's got in his contract, if it doesn't work out for him being the interim city manager, he can go back and be fire chief.
Right.
So, and he's doing the best that he can. But, to be a city manager, you have to really know everything about everything.
Ins and outs.
Budgets,
personnel, HR. It's a
you're running the show.
Comprehensive package.
See, that's what the issue is. Okay. If the council would let the city manager do his job, okay, things would be great. Would have been great with Dana. Would have been great with Charlie. Okay. But no, they got to micromanage. And so now with this election coming up February 1st, you got 3 seats open because Gary, he couldn't do it anymore. He got outvoted, every time. And Gary probably knew more than any of them there.
Right.
So now you got to make a decision, and it's getting ugly, of course, because you got a month to go, and you got a couple of new candidates in there, and it gets really interesting. You got 2 incumbents and 3 new candidates.
And you have 5 people running for 3.
5 running for 3.
3, right?
5 running for
and that's
3.
that election's on February 1st.
Right. Right around the corner.
Yeah, right around the corner.
And you got, again, we have pandemic again.
Yeah. What's going to happen with that?
Well, you're going to get the voters to vote. Absentee ballots are going out. And I think a lot of people will vote absentee. But then they sell this bill of goods, Tim, that it's like they're going to do this and they're going to do that. And today, interesting, I'm here today. So you heard of Naples Better Government? That's our organization. 30 years they've been in Naples. They are the only nonpartisan political group around. Okay. And so I'm on that. I used to be on the other side when I was mayor. They'd interview me and whatever, and they asked really good questions. So today, we had our interviews today. 2 candidates don't show up.
Really?
Okay, yeah. Terry Hutchison, the incumbent, one of the incumbents, right? He doesn't show up, and he was invited.
And this is nonpartisan. This is like chances you're to put yourself out there and just talk.
Partisan, exactly.
Right.
Like we're doing today.
Yeah.
We're not talking
no
about
threats,
No.
Yeah, no, none whatsoever.
No.
Bill.
Right.
Where's my sponge Nerf gun?
Tim, we are good to go here.
We are good.
Yeah, no, nonpartisan. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So Hutchison at first said yes. Then he tells Sally Tiffany, who's the president, then she reached out again. Are you sure? What they said? No, I can't do it. He didn't give a reason why. He just said, no, I can't be there that day. Then you got a new candidate, and her name is Beth Fortuno. I better look at it because I've never met her, believe it or not. But she was a GE executive, Beth Petronoff. Okay, I don't want to get her name wrong.
Right.
Okay, and she's coattailed on. She's from Connecticut, worked for GE for quite a few years. There's a lot of empty space there in between, but she advertises on her brochure 3 generations of Naples. Okay, well, she hasn't been in Naples for 3 generations. She's lived here about 2 years. Okay, and
grandfather, parents,
who knows?
Who,
yeah,
right?
Right,
yeah.
But and keeps mixing up things that get said. Right, 3 generations of even says on her brochure. Yeah, 3 generations of family in Naples. That's not her.
Right.
She's been here.
Definitely misleading, I would think.
Yeah, I would say that's misleading. I would say that last time she voted in 2020 in New Canaan, Connecticut. Okay. So there's just all kinds of things that are the usual election stuff, which shouldn't happen in Naples, okay, because they spread stories about the candidates, they tell truths and untruths. Maybe you could say to me, well, that's just the way politics is. That's the country we live in today. That's what goes on.
But we shouldn't accept that, though.
I don't accept it at all.
That's
And
shouldn't accept that.
it's frustrating as hell. It really is. One example, Terry Hutchison.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's an incumbent. So there was a big deal down in Port Royal about a boat that was about 8 feet over the length that it could be. All right. Went to court. Council, the city of Naples turned them down, said no, they came for a variance. No. Guy takes us to court. Okay. And it drags on. We change councils. And it's moving up the ranks in court. Okay. We lose one, win one. Long story short, Terry switches his vote. He votes for the guy to just forget about the ordinance or over the length, votes for him. About 2 weeks later, if you look at his campaign contributions, $10,000 from different relatives of this gentleman in his account. Okay. It doesn't say anything, but it certainly does say something. Let the voters look at that and figure it out for themselves. All right. It's not nice stuff.
Yeah. So we have an obligation I'm a county resident, so I'm not a city resident. However, no one really knows the difference from out of town, right? So,
Correct.
So my thing is the way that Naples City government is run doesn't maybe directly impact me, but it really does. Does that make sense? So when you have this whole debacle going on and things that are just being basically the integrity of the system is problematic, that leads to problems. I mean, it's just for someone that works so hard to keep the integrity together all these years,
right.
It's got to be disheartening. And I know that's why you want to get your voice out.
Well, it is disheartening. And then, I hear more from people, like I'll be in Publix, okay? And somebody will come up to me and say, hey, Mayor, when are you coming back? And I said, I'm not going there, okay? She's got 2 more years to go, all right? So then they say, how come these meetings run so long? And I just smile and I say, they're running 10-hour meetings, 11-hour meetings for city council. And because they can't get anything done. Now, they'll tell you, oh, we've got so many wonderful projects that we're working on that it takes us that long. There's no leadership. Okay. There's no leadership. And they can't seem to get the agendas right. So the mayor says, nope, we'll be out of here by 4 o'clock today. 7:30 at night. They're still going. From working as sheriff, as deputy, as moving up the ranks, you can only go so many hours before your mind goes lulu, right?
Yeah, bonkers. Yeah.
You can't concentrate. And it goes back to just what you were talking about. It's the integrity. It's the things that they need to fix and they can't seem to get them fixed. And I'll tell you what the bottom line is. So we don't go into dinner hour here.
No.
But the bottom line is they are now looking for another city manager. The city managers have a network, just like the sheriff's department has networks. You guys got connections all over the country. Okay. City managers and county managers have a network amongst themselves throughout the whole state of Florida. Now,
everybody knows.
Well, everybody knows. And so all of a sudden you see this job listing posting. We've got a search firm. Okay. They hired a search firm. And there's nobody who wouldn't want to live in Naples. I mean, other than the fact that it's expensive as hell, but you're going to pay for it. City managers get good bucks.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so the first thing they're going to do, if it's you, right, and you're working up in somewhere in northern Florida and you see this, man, I've always wanted to go down there and live in Naples. You're a smart guy, great credentials, okay, references up the gazoo. I mean, the best, right?
Right.
And you say, well, I wonder what's going on down there. So what do? You pick up the phone and you go call the former city manager, Charlie Chapman, okay, or Dana, all right? Say, hey,
Whoa,
you know,
whoa,
you,
whoa, whoa, whoa.
you were only there for Charlie. You were there for 2 years. What's the deal? Okay. They can smell it out that there's something wrong. And then all they got to do is go on and all they have to do is go on and watch a couple of the meetings. They say, wow. But city managers have their own kind of thought waves, like they can fix anything. Okay. Because they're good. Right.
Right.
And they can. But if I don't let you do your job, there is a line there. Okay. I'm the mayor. You're the city manager, and you come in as a new city manager. First thing I would always do, and I didn't work with that many of them because they stayed on, is here's a fine line right here. I know where my boundaries are. I'm not going to call one of your directors and say, hey, can you tell me whatever? I'm going to call you and say, hey, Tim, can I speak to Bob over in utilities about a question I have? And you'll say, yeah, of course you can, Mayor, or I'll get you the answer. They don't do that. And they ran these city managers out because the mayor was in and out of that office 5 times a day. She wants this, she wants that. A council member wants something, goes directly to the department head. Department head can't do their job that the city manager is saying what you do and what you don't do. When council members,
it's a chain of command. It's a process.
You got it. You know that.
It's I just want to reaffirm.
Who knows better than you?
Yeah.
It is a chain of command. And what happens if you break the chain of command?
It messes everything up. Everything goes the wrong way.
Right.
And it's like small things maybe, but when, the problem is that it gets to be convoluted when I just can't even imagine like a city council member going to a department head of water and start mingling into that stuff.
Well,
and it's got to be, I feel bad for the situation.
Let's say it's coming up on the agenda. There's a water related issue coming up on the agenda. Okay. And maybe I, as a city councilman, don't understand it. And so the first thing I want to do is go to my city manager and say, Tim, can you, or Mr. City Manager, will you help me with this? It's on next week's agenda. I've read as much as I can about it, but I don't understand this. Can you explain? And they'll say, let's get the director and we'll have a little powwow. We'll get him to explain it to you. We're good. I'm not going to him because maybe you could answer it and say, hey, I know what the answer is.
Yeah. This is one question I've been wanting to ask you. From my understanding, and I don't know city government as well, but I believe the city government in Naples, the mayor is, you guys have a weak mayor system with, usually it's that case when you have a city manager. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And when we say weak, it's not like, that's just a term. It's not like you're weak. And I think from what I understand is that whole process has been all jacked up.
That's correct. If you're a strong city manager, Fort Myers.
Yeah, okay? Right. Exactly.
You're a strong,
strong mayor.
You're a strong mayor. I'm sorry. Right. You're a strong mayor. You run everything. You run all the departments. You're the chair.
Correct.
Weak system. You have a city manager that runs all the departments. If you look at our charter, this might surprise you. And I say, I want to run for city council. What are my responsibilities? It is to make and set policy. That's it. Okay. You make policy, you set the policy, you, Mr. City Manager, carry out our policy.
Yeah. And
that's it.
That's very, very simple.
It's in the charter.
But I think what happens is, like, okay, for instance, the mayor, right, looks at the term weak mayor and thinks it's literally weak mayor. So now you have to be strong. But it's not set up that way.
She understands very clearly. It's the power angle. The city manager, she's looking for a city manager that will do what she wants her to do. Right. The agenda, her agenda. Okay. And that's the start of it. But then when you take the council, okay, and you have, she has a majority on council. All right. So it comes down to a crucial vote or whatever it is. She's going to get that vote most of the time. And it's bad. It's just not good. So that has to change. Now, whether it will or not, I don't know.
Now, let me ask you this. There's going to be people that are going to listen to this podcast. We have like thousands of listeners, right? They're going to think, oh, Bill's upset. He didn't win the campaign.
That ship
Explain
sailed,
that ship.
Well, listen.
And I know better. I just want people to understand it.
Okay, so if we backed up 2 years, okay, you're in the middle of the pandemic, all right. The vote is election day is coming up, and this is God's honest truth, okay? Because I was never bitter about it when it happened. It happened. That's the way it goes, okay? So the day after the election, I lose the election, and I walk a lot, so I'm taking a walk, and I see one of my neighbors, and he says, "Man, that's tough that you lost. You shouldn't have lost that." And I said, "Hey, worked as hard as I could. I didn't get elected. That's all." He says, "Well, I'm feeling really bad." And I said, "Why?" He says, "You see all your signs in my neighbor's yards?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, they felt so confident that you would win that they never voted." And I just looked at him and I smiled and I said, "Yeah, I mean, people were saying that to me the whole campaign. You won't lose. Are you kidding me?" And I said, "Don't say that to me. Okay. You have to vote. You have to be," and
complacent
pandemic, so it happened. But me coming on your show today or in the future or whatever is because it's like my wife, Chris, said, it's because you care and we care. And we hate to see something that I served 16 years as mayor and 12 years on city council. And I hate to see that slowly getting rotten from the inside out.
Yeah. Well, you know what's strange about it though, right? So like when you go through maybe some personnel changes, that's probably gonna happen, right? But when you go through as many changes and so many people are
leaving,
saying the same things over and over, and I've had a chance to talk to some of your folks that public safety members that they work there. They're like, "Listen, we can't get anything that we're trying to get because it's
now you're
bottled
talking
up."
about a current issue, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
guys. But you mentioned two things there. The first one is we're losing employees. Okay, I mean we're losing key employees. They're leaving because they can't take the pressure that's coming from
negative pressure.
Negative pressure from the top. They can't get their jobs done. The public, there's some great jobs out there in the public. Okay. So we're losing employees. And the second part of that scenario is you can't replace them because they don't want to come to work. Now, talk about your PD and your first responders.
Yeah.
So what's happening?
Yeah. So I've had a couple very good conversations, with them. And basically what they're telling me, and it's not a lot of money, but from my understanding is there are some monies that they could be giving them a little bit more. And these public safety guys are not looking for a huge amount. What they're looking for is, number one, people to care, people to identify them, and have people understand that these guys are one of the major reasons that Naples is the way it is. We've always had a safe community, whether it be the sheriff's office, whether it be the city, work hand in hand. The problem is these guys are all leaving. They're going to other agencies.
Right.
And they're going to Cape Coral.
How easy is that to do? So Carmine up there in
he's like pulling people out.
He's got an open application on his desk, right? So somebody told me that in RPD, okay, it's like we're a training ground, okay, because these guys are just not making what they should be making. I heard, and fire department as well. Okay, the fire guys. Okay, there was an engineer position over in the fire department. They did a pay classification study. $23,000 under what he should be making.
23,000.
Yeah. That's what came back. So.
And to live in Collier County, it doesn't have to be in the city, but it's so expensive here.
Somebody made a remark today that you'll really appreciate. They said we were talking, and it was about how many employees the city was losing, the first responders and everything else. And the remark today, as of this morning, came out and said, well, the sheriff's department is down 142 employees. You know what the answer was? Sheriff's department is huge. That might be about normal for them. Okay. We're not comparing the sheriff's department to the city of Naples. Okay. Where we had 73 people and we're down 30 or whatever that number is.
That's a huge number.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're trying to compare the two. I said, no, that's not working. So the bottom line is you're right. You said it right off the bat. If the city were broke, okay, that's one thing. And public safety, when I started before you were born in 1984, first year on council.
I was going to high school. I was in high school. Junior in high school.
Junior. My first year as a rookie on city council, I ran on public safety because I had an old Tammany Hall politician as a campaign manager. And he said, listen, young man, he said, this is 1984. Naples is coming up, is starting to, flourish. People are going to live here because they want to feel safe and they have a safe environment. And I never got off that. Every campaign, everything I ran, it was public safety is number one. And it still should be. But the reason that there's an issue saying that, the candidates might mean it, but damn, council better step up and write the check and get an agreement. And I'm not talking about a 1-year contract with PD or with fire or whatever.
Give these guys what they deserve. And
when Marco Island is making more, their PD is making more than ours. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Marco Island. I love Marco Island. But there's something wrong with that picture.
Yeah. What people don't understand is when right now, currently, and I understand it very well, you can go down on 5th Ave South in Naples, Florida, and on any given night, I just get back from New York City, totally different scenario.
Yeah,
it's not really apples to apples, but the point I'm trying to make is you can go down to Naples and you can walk from one end to the other, and you get this feeling over yourself that this is like paradise. This is beautiful.
Right.
But what happens is if you slowly allow that to erode, just a little, it's the broken window theory, right?
Correct.
So instead of having 5 guys on shift that night, or gals, members,
it's
staff,
happening.
Yeah, you have 4. Okay. Well, you might be able to get through that night with the 4. Okay. Well, what happens if someone calls in sick? Now you got 3. And what happens if there's a car crash up by Coastal Center Mall? Now you have 2 that are going to handle the car crash. Now you maybe only have 1 officer that's available for the whole city.
You know what? You just wrapped up the whole thing. That's exactly what is happening.
Yeah.
And some of the guys have told me, and some of the guys have said to me, so here's what happens. They want to have an event on 5th Avenue South. Then you got to have barricades up. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you got to have enough officers, you know this better than me, to be able to cover the crowds. Well, we're not going to be able to do that. So they're not going to be able to have the event. And it's going to be that trickle-down effect. And it's happening right now.
Yeah.
You said it.
We need to wake up. We need to wake up. And people in the county can say this. If you do nothing but tell a friend that lives in the city who they need to vote for, that's all we're asking you to do.
Right.
So just tell a friend. I'm involved because, listen, nobody says, hey, North Naples is a cool place. They do say it, but it's always in Naples. So when you're in Naples and something bad happens in Naples, in the city limits of Naples, that's what gets projected. So we cannot afford to allow that to happen. If we have problems in the city of Naples, that's our heart, right? That's the heart to our body.
Right.
Okay. So when that starts to be damaged, it's going to damage the whole Collier County.
Right.
The whole community. Right. So if you don't live in the city, don't just say, that's not my problem. You need to call somebody. So all you folks that are living in the county, call somebody in the city and say, hey, I need to step in here. And this is who you need to, elect.
Well, it affects, and if county residents, a lot of city residents don't even have a clue whether they're living in the city or living in the county.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, honestly, I would be willing to tell
county people too.
Say that, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Say, we get the calls every day, right? I got a problem, and my admin would say, okay, sir, where do you live? And say 57th Street Southwest Golden Gate. Well, you don't live in the city. Well, yes, I do. Well, I have a Naples address. Yes, like, okay. Try and explain that. That it's cut off. But you're 100% correct. That is what we don't want to see, and that's when I say that it's deteriorating. But the average citizen is not going to see that until it happens.
What happens is let's kind of equate it to like your water heater at your house, right? Okay. So it works fine, right? When you get up in the morning, You're just so happy you get your warm water,
Right.
you got your shower,
Right.
and then the next day it might not be as hot, right? And then one day it just goes up.
Yeah. It's
And
cold.
it's too late. It's
Right.
cold. So we have 1 or 2 incidents in our city. Those taxpayers and those people that come visit aren't going to come here anymore. And you know it as well as I do. People come to Naples because of the safety, security, the beauty.
Right.
If that starts to erode and we allow it to erode, we're going to be in terrible shape here.
Well, and it is happening.
Yeah. And can you give us like what, I mean, I know we talked about some people that are upset, but what are you seeing that's happening?
Well, I'm seeing half of the things that we talked about
Yeah.
today. I'm seeing the lack of management with the city. I'm not talking about Pete DiMaria. He's awesome. I mean,
Right. I know you're not
I'm talking about in general. Okay. Those are going to be the little things. Those are the little things that are happening. An event. Now, the normal person is not going to see that, but that event never happened because they didn't have the workforce to be able to do it.
Yeah.
And I see it probably more than anybody else, but it is happening out there. So, the only way to fix this, I'm going to give you a very short, quick. They need to find a city manager and they need to pledge. And I say the city council needs to pledge. Mr. Guerrette, congratulations. You are our new city manager. We will leave you alone. Do your job.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah.
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 He can't have he's got to be able to do that.
Yeah. Let him do that. I think but how do you control somebody that's the mayor or a city councilman that, once they put you in that spot, how do you?
Well, Charlie
It's respect.
Chapman tried. Okay. He was as respectful as could be. But when you don't like somebody or you don't like a decision they make and you think, well, I'm the elected official and I should have the final say on this, you're going to get a vote on it. Okay. You just can't do that. You hire a city manager. Look, Bill Moss was with us for 7 years. Richard Woodruff.
Great guy.
Oh, he is a great guy.
Yeah.
Richard Woodruff, who I started with in 1996.
Coaches kids in football.
Okay. So there you go. I mean, you couldn't ask for better. He earned the respect of his staff. And right now, our staff is in a turmoil because they don't have a city manager. I mean, I'm not
ship without a captain at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You have an interim. Okay. And Pete is super.
Yeah.
But they need someone that they can go to. Okay. They need someone that knows their department and knows what they can do.
And when I said respect, I don't mean it's respect from the city manager to the city council necessarily. It's respect for the position and understanding what a city council member is supposed to do versus trying to mingle. Like, I'll give you an example. I was the chief of operations for the sheriff's office. I had 6 districts. At one point I had over 700 or 800 people. If somebody had an issue with a deputy, I don't call that deputy.
Right.
I call the captain, who then calls the lieutenant,
right,
who then calls the sergeant.
The chain of command.
The chain of command, unless it merits like, hey, I need to have you come down. But
right.
it never did that. It never did that.
Right.
There has to be that flow. And I will tell you that it doesn't always go that way, but I would say 95%, there's got to be that flow. So everybody in that process needs to understand how that works.
There is a chart, really, really simple chart. Okay. Starts with the public.
There's a reason.
Public's
right?
number one.
Yeah.
Okay? Then it goes down, mayor, city manager, whatever.
Yeah.
But you got to let the city manager do his or her job, and everything all of a sudden starts to smooth out. Okay. The staff is happy. The morale at the city sucks right now. I hate to put it that way.
Let me ask you this one question before we go. When you became, because we have a first term mayor,
right?
Heitman, right? When you first became the mayor, how much did you really know about the inner workings of the city anyway? So how could you possibly get involved with all that shit?
Well, so that's your answer. But when I first became mayor, I had served on council. Okay.
So you knew something.
Well, I knew from a council person, but
right.
all of a sudden you're on the other side of that fence. You're the mayor. And I remember that first day like it was today. I remember because Richard Woodruff was the city manager and he came in that morning. We came in the office that morning and looking around and I said, Richard, He says, "Don't worry, Mayor. I'll help you along." Okay?
You're like, you got it.
I'll help. He said, "I'll help you along, and if you ever have a problem, he says you come to me and whatever." And so I learned from the best. I had great mentors.
Yeah.
So that's it. So I just want to tell you before we
we got the election coming up.
Yeah, we got the election coming up, and this morning I'll tell you we Naples Better Government. We had our interviews, and we liked Ian Rudnick.
Yes, Ian, great guy. Oh, I like Ian. Solid.
Yeah. Solid. City of Naples
Yeah.
PD, 17 years.
Yeah, very good guy.
He's a good guy. An incumbent, Ray Chrisman, who's he's just a solid guy. He understands the issues. And we selected him. And then another beginner, so to speak, who's probably never been in local government. And it's John Dugan.
Okay.
And those are the three that we selected.
Okay.
Now there's going to be a lot of flack from the old Naples people because they definitely don't like Dugan.
Right.
Okay. They do like Chrisman. We don't know what they think about Ian, but Ian's got great credentials.
Yeah.
And he's a super guy. He's smart. He's young. He lives in the city.
That's a home run right there. Just having that.
It's a home run. He's got a 5-year-old daughter. He's, he is what that generation really wants to see in there.
Yeah.
Some young blood who's smart and decisive. And so that's our choices. They're not even out yet.
One more time.
Yeah.
Go over the choices.
Ian Rudnick.
Ian Rudnick. Know him well.
Okay. Ray Chrisman.
Ray.
Right. And John Dugan.
Okay. John Dugan. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So, you might have heard it first on.
What if we don't live in the city? And we've talked about it before. What if we don't live in the city and we're sitting back going, it doesn't really matter to me. What do we got to do?
Well, it's got to matter. Let me tell you.
Tell some people, right?
I know we're short on time, so let me just say this. So when I was running, a lot of times somebody would say, well, I'd support you, but I live in the county. Okay. And I'd say, well, let me ask you a question. Do you use Naples, City of Naples? Do you like the restaurants on 5th Avenue South? Yeah. You want to keep going there? Yeah. Then you need to support me. Write me a check. Okay. And they say, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. I didn't think about that. County people love the city.
Absolutely.
And so they have to be involved with everybody knows somebody that lives in the city, if you live in the county. Yep. You know someone that lives in the city.
Absolutely.
So you're going to say, hey, I like this guy, Tim Guerrette. Okay. I like this guy, Ian Rudnick. Okay. Please vote for him for me. Okay. He's going to keep Naples the way we want it.
That's it.
Simple.
And I think the point too I'm trying to make is it's like we talked about, the heartbeat of the county is the city of Naples, right? If the heart is not running or operating properly, everything else goes to shit.
Right.
And that's honest to God, it's true.
It does.
And we need some people that can understand what's going on with public safety, understand what's going on with the city manager situation.
And the police and fire. Okay.
Yeah.
I tell you what, if we came in here and you said, I'll tell you what, Bill, we are 239 uncensored today and you have 3 minutes. What are your top 3 things that you want? I want my first responders. Okay. I want them to get paid what they should be paid. Okay. Public safety. That's what it's
big check.
That's big check mark
right
there. Okay. That's number 1. Number 2, I want the city manager to have respect and the council people get elected, understand what their responsibilities are. Read the charter. You set policy, you make and set policy. City manager does all the rest.
That's it. Let them do their job.
Let them do their job.
Check 2.
Check 2. You can pick check 3.
Check 3, I think, is basically just when people make sure that people, when they come and participate in the city matters, let them do it in a way that's professional, right? Because I've heard of some of these city council meetings are like circuses.
Well, they are.
And it's unprofessional. And do you realize that there's people out there watching the circus?
Well,
I mean, it's crazy.
That's what the controversy is.
Who wants to be in this type of environment?
People say, what is going on there? I had to shut that meeting off. It was terrible. They talk a lot and they don't do anything.
Yeah. Professionalism. That's all I'm asking. That would be check 3 for me.
3.
Professionalism. That's it. That's it.
I could have done that in 2 minutes, man, but I love talking to you.
I know it's great. Well, Bill, anything else to add? I know I want you back here.
before the election.
Yeah, before the election, 1 or 2 times. You've got an open show
before the election.
Yeah, we'll do a week before. We'll keep pounding home. We want the right things to to go down. And
well,
you know,
we do, but I greatly appreciate the fact that at least I can't vet or vent anywhere other than here because I got with the Dave Elliott show. Okay, Dave's a great guy, but the higher ups there, no, he can't talk politics anymore. It's like, hey, you know what?
Well, we get out to a lot of people.
Well, I'm comfortable here.
We get out to a lot of people, so it's real good. And then we've got everything. And then if you have somebody that you'd like to have come on the podcast, let them know. Just give me a call. Go through you. However, we'll make it happen. Yeah, you got it.
But I don't know if we can get anybody as good as us.
Oh, we're the best. I love it. Yay!
Thank you, man.
Yeah, right. 239 Uncensored. Everything Southwest Florida and beyond. And Bill, it was great having you in. And we are out. Yes.